2024. At this time, we would like to have a moment of silence to reflect, to remember, and to respect. If you would stand with me, please. Thank you. Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Parker.
Here.
Ms. Barnes.
Present.
Mrs. Gherkin.
Here.
Mrs. Barwig.
Here.
Mr. Vasquez.
Here. At this time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance and our mission and vision statement recited by the students from Ella P. Stewart Academy for Girls. Those who will participate, would you please stand?
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our Toledo Public Schools mission statement.
We provide innovative educational opportunities that ensure each student is prepared for their future.
And our vision statement.
We empower each and every student to live and live a perfect life. Become ladies of prestige.
And our school's creed.
We are exceptional. We are extraordinary. We make no excuses. We never fail because we never give up. We believe in ourselves. We believe in each other. We believe success is our only option. We are the girls of the Ella P. Stewart Academy.
Awesome. At this time, we'll go to section 2, which is presentations, and I'll turn it over to Mrs. Mazur.
Good evening and thank you. Yesterday was the deadline for submissions from students who are interested in participating in the Kid Mayor and or Kid Council initiative through the City of Toledo. We had 53 fourth graders apply this year. Those nominations will be cut down to only 7. And those students will then be interviewed by the mayor and representatives from TPS, Washington Local, and other community members. And from there, they will decide who is the Kid Mayor and members of the Kid Council for the year of 2024. To encourage students to apply, we had the current Kid Mayor, who is a proud TPS student, Miss Gabby from Grove Patterson, do a quick video on what it means to be Kid Mayor.
My name is Gabrielle McKira, and I go to Grove Patterson Academy, and I am in 5th grade. My role was the Kid Mayor and being the leader of the Kid Council. It was really fun, and I like trying new things, so this is something new for me to do, and I really like it. My mom told me the mayor is like the president of the city. It was really cool. I was like, I needed someone that's like really famous and makes laws for the city.
Did you sit in his chair?
Yes, I did. It's really cool, and I have my own desk too, right next to him. One of the things that I really like, I went on the, you know where the mud hens play at? I went on the field and I did an interview about the Litter League. We went to the fire station and we got to see the fire trucks and how the firefighters live and work. And we also got to see inside the SWAT team, and there's different colored lights, and it's really cool. You apply For this program, you have to write an essay about why you want to be the kid mayor. You can work with the mayor, and there's this kid council that's really nice and fun. So you get to be the leader, you get to do all these different activities. So at the end of the year, and you write your, you guys come up with a plan of doing what you want to do to help this city better. And you say it to the real council and the mayor and all this other important people. This program was really fun, and I'm glad I got to join it and see this new experience for myself, and I really love it. I think you should try it, and if you want to do it, go apply. My name is Gabrielle McCare, and I'm TPS proud.
So according to our friends from Government Center, Ms. Gabby her shoes will be hard to fill. She promoted a campaign of compassion and kindness, and the city is looking to continue that initiative through this next round with Kid Mayor and Kid Council. So this will be round 3, and let's remember both Kid Mayors have attended Toledo Public Schools. Yay! One other presentation tonight, a very important one, and that is to recognize the Board of Education, as January is Board Member Appreciation Month in Ohio, set by the Ohio School Board Association. And tonight we just want to say thank you to our dedicated board members. As elected officials, board members devote hours of their time to the district and provide leadership and oversight of operations and academics. In the end, their hard work benefits both students and staff members. We thank you for all that you do. This year's theme is Launch the Next Generation, and we're all going to keep pushing and shooting for the stars, and we appreciate the guidance of the board. Retirees for tonight, Wendy Kosdick. She is a 4th grade teacher at Garfield Elementary. She is retiring with 34 years and 5 months service to TPS. And Ms. Cheryl Nelson, 1st grade teacher at Whittier, 39 years of service to Toledo Public Schools for a total of 73.5 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mazur. Before we go any further, I would like to request a motion to adopt the January 23rd, 2024 board agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? If not, Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gherkin,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwig,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes. Thank you. Now we will go to section 3. At this time, there is no community comments. Section 4, there is no representation of organizational input. So now we will go to section 5, which is comments by the board. Mrs. Barwig.
Thank you. Well, first, I just want to thank LP Stewart students. I love seeing the Pledge of Allegiance done by our students and their opportunity to recite the vision and mission. I love hearing from our students, so it's a great way to incorporate them into our board meetings. And thank you for the recognition by the district. I do think that our school board members work very hard year-long, and it's really nice to be recognized. And certainly we want to congratulate the 2 former kid mayors. I think it's a great opportunity for our students to get involved at the city level and to see firsthand how government works. I have a topic that I would like to talk about tonight, and I'm going to take just a couple minutes just to recognize it. You know, my day job is working for the county, and the county recognized the importance of WIC and the 50 years that it's been in existence. And the reason why I would like to bring that up also tonight is because it's under attack at the federal level, and it is so important for our families to have the opportunity to receive WIC. So instead of reading everything that I have talking points, but I really just would like our board to maybe take the time to write a letter of support of WIC funding for to give to our representatives at the federal level. You know, they need to hear from us. This impacts our families, and so while it may not directly be involved in the educational aspect of our district. Anything that happens to our families in the community has an impact on education. And so for that reason, I would just like to recognize that the 50 years of WIC, and that we send a letter, draft a letter to our legislators at the federal level. And then I would also encourage our community to contact their representatives as well. Just one note. Right now, it's a potential of 52,000 people who need WIC, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, just in Ohio. So it's 52,000 families that will be impacted if WIC funding is cut, and that will run out in September. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Gherkin.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mrs. Varwig, for your continued advocacy and keeping us up to speed on the different assaults on things that matter to us and to our families. I just want to make a comment about snow days and weather and rain and sleet and snow, and I know those decisions are hard to make, and I just hope that we can get back into a routine of being able to have schools open for more than a day in a row, and I hope everyone has enjoyed their extended holiday because of the weather.
Thank you. Mrs. Barnes?
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to say Mayor Gabriella was amazing throughout last year. I met with her and her family at different events, and just the sheer joy watching her take up space. I cannot wait to vote for her. I don't know what she's going to be running for in the future. She may be a future board member, and I cannot wait to vote for her. I also want to congratulate the December TPS graduates who have made requirements and kept efforts to make sure they cross the finish line. So kudos to you, and thank you for choosing to continue your education. And I do believe in giving flowers. People know that about me, so I want to once again give Dr. Durant his flowers because, and I called him personally and told him the message of making sure our families know about closures as soon as possible. I don't think people know, or maybe some people don't care about the challenge of trying to predict the weather. But to do it in a fashion and make a statement that this is giving time for families to make arrangements, because we know we have families who have to think above and beyond when schools are closed. And I appreciate you saying that as a single parent who had to be like, okay, who's watching Bambino today? So thank you for just being the leader that you are for our district. And this is what's showing that although we are in the business of education, we are still a family. And I'm just grateful that so far we have taken precautions to make sure our staff and our students are safe during this unpredictable season of weather and I will say global warming, climate change, cough, cough, that we are continuing to do the best we can to make sure all our students receive high quality education while making sure our staff feel seen and heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make a couple of comments. One, want to talk about how excited I am with the LP Stewart Academy for Girls presentation. That was quite some presentation. The other thing is that the kid mayor, and I'm not exactly sure who was responsible for the video. Ms. Mazur, I'm thinking you had something to do with it. That was wonderful. That was great. To hear her talk in her own words and how excited she was just kind of really gets to me. I think it says it all. I mean, the video was just wonderful. So thank you for whoever put the efforts into that, Ms. Mazur, for doing that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. So real quick, just a couple of things. Number one, I agree. Thank you to Ella P. Stewart for the awesome Pledge of Allegiance and the mission and vision statement, and to our kid mayor and those who represent the kid council. I think that this is a great initiative. It's amazing that we show our children how the city runs and things of such like that, but they also understand and recognize the power of partnership. And so Gabby did an amazing job, and even the previous mayor, TPS, got a hold on this so far, so that's awesome. Also, we had the opportunity to go to the Smarts Gathering for their winter gathering, and it was absolutely amazing to see our students coming together, developing initiatives and ideas. Mr. Vasquez and I were in New Orleans, and one of the things that we notice is how far ahead TPS is as it relates to the student voice and how students have the say in things that go on in the district. So salute to TPS for really being a mover and shaker as it relates to helping our students have that voice. Finally, this is Board Member Recognition Month, and I want to say to every board member, thank you for the service that you do, and for our students, for our community. You guys are amazing, and I believe this is the best board that any district could ever ask for, so thank you. All right, now we're going to section 4, and section 4 deals, section 6, which is our consent agenda. Agenda items 6 through 1 through 6.22 are the consent agenda items. Board members may request to pull an item from the consent and move to the discussion section of the agenda. Item 6.01, 6.04 is Human Resource, Staff Development, and Training Committee. Chair is Polly Taylor Gherkin, co-chair Randall Parker. Item 6.05 through 6.10, Finance and Business Operation Committee. Chair Bob Vasquez, co-chair Chris Varwig. Item 6.11, Workforce Development and Partnership Committee. There was no meeting this month. Chair is Mr. Bob Vasquez, co-chair Mrs. Polly Taylor Gherkin. Item 6.12 through 6.14, Board Curriculum Instruction and Academic Excellence. Chair Mrs. Polly Taylor Gherkin, co-chair Mrs. Chris Varwig. 6.15, Policy Committee. There was no meeting this month. Our chair, Mrs. Sheena Barnes, co-chair, Mr. Bob Vasquez. Item 6.16, Arts, Athletics, and Student Activities Committee. There was no meeting this month. Chair, Ms. Chris Varwig, co-chair, Randall Parker. Item 6.17 through 6.18, Family and Community Engagement Committee. Chair, Mr. Bob Vasquez, co-chair, Mrs. Sheena Barnes. Item 6.19 through 6.22 is the approval of board minutes. I would like to request a motion at this time to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gherkin,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwig,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
Section 7 of the agenda consists of reports and minutes from this month's committee meetings and are just here for information and reference. No action is required. So now we can proceed to section 8 of the agenda, discussion item 8.01. So we were going to move our board meeting from the regular board meeting time of February 27th up, I believe, a week. And so we've had a schedule conflict, and so we want to go back to our regular board time and date of February 27th, 2024. We do need to make a motion to approve the treasurer pro temp, as our treasurer will be unavailable during that time as well. So I would like to request a motion to approve the treasurer pro temp nomination, which would be.
So Mrs. Natashak and I looked this up. The president or the treasurer pro tem needs to be a board member, and then the board member is allowed to like designate Mr. Gant to do the roll calls and so forth. So it needs to be one of you 5.
All right.
I would make the motion that Bob Vasquez, treasurer pro tem.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mrs. Gherkin,
Yes.
Mrs. Barwig,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
At this time, we will go to section 8.02, which is a resolution supporting the LGBTQ plus Students Against Harmful Legislation. There's a resolution that we have, and we're going to ask Ms. Barnes if she would read that resolution at this time.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am happy to do so. A resolution supporting LGBTQ plus students against harmful legislation. Whereas the Board of Education of the Toledo City School District, the board, is committed to providing a welcoming, inclusive, and supportive learning environment for all students, regardless of their race, color, religion, national origin, sex, gender identities, sexual orientation, disability, or any other characteristics protected by law. Whereas while the board values diversity and uniqueness of its student body, the Ohio legislature has repeatedly put partisan policies over the need of our students by introducing unnecessary legislation which target our LGBTQ plus students. Whereas on December 13, 2023, the Ohio legislature passed House Bill 68, which would enact the Save Ohio Adolescents from Experimentation Act, also known as the SAFE Act, and Save the Women's Sports Act. Whereas the SAFE Act acts as a barrier to health care by preventing mental health professionals, including school psychologists, from providing necessary care to our LGBTQ plus students, and requires schools to officially to out their students. Whereas this legislation is contrary to TPS core values, which includes promoting healthy behaviors, to protecting our students' physical, mental, social, and emotional needs. Research shows that while LGBTQ plus youth want mental health care, the vast majority are unable to access it because they fear being outed. Whereas the Save Women's Sports Act would require each school district to designate separate teams for participants of the female sex with female sports division, and would prohibit transgender females from participating on the sports team that align with their gender identity. Whereas TPS mission is to provide innovative education opportunities to ensure each student is prepared for their future. This includes participating in extracurricular activities like sports. The Save a Women's Act sports undermines this mission and seeks to deny educational opportunities for students, based on their sex and gender identity in violation of federal law. Whereas the Save a Women's Sports Act is dangerous and unnecessary. The Ohio High School Athletic Association, also known as OSHA, has policies in place which permit transgender females to participate on female sports teams, and certain conditions are met. TPS and other districts across the state have relied on and followed these policies to allow students to safely participate in athletic competitions. Their participation is necessary to a well-rounded education and a student's social and emotional success. Whereas recognizing the mental health care and community supports are in many cases life-saving for LGBTQ plus youth. Governor DeWine vetoed House Bill 68 on December 29, 2023. However, the Ohio legislature has taken steps to override the governor's veto and enact House Bill 68. Whereas the Ohio legislature should not prioritize partisan policies over the needs of students in the community, of our students and community by enacting this harmful legislation. Now therefore it be resolved by the board that Section 1, this board remains opposed to House Bill 68 and other pieces of legislation which targets LGBTQ plus students. Section 2, the board reaffirms its commitment to providing meaningful education opportunities to all students and in creating a welcome and inclusive environment where students focus on their academic, social, and emotional success instead of the fear and inclusion advanced by the Ohio legislature. Section 3, this resolution shall be in full force and effective form from immediately after its adoption. It is found and determined that all formal actions of this board relating to this resolution were taken in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Mrs. Varwick.
Okay, this is, yet again, by the state, another attack on children. So, and I want people to remember, children. I immediately think, what would Jesus do? I have met several times with OSHA's director, Doug Oot, and we've talked extensively about this topic to several board members across the state. And they had already put in place requirements, policies, guidelines that could be followed and have been followed. And again, it seems that no one is listening to people that actually know about the topic, that actually know what trans students experience. They're not listening to the medical professionals. So I'm not quite sure how to get through this state legislature. You know, we sit here every month and we're always complaining about yet another horrendous bill, month after month after month, and nothing seems to be changing at the State House. It breaks my heart because at the end of the day, I would ask the community throughout the state of Ohio, what if this impacted your child? So I will be in support of this opposition to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you. It is heartbreaking that we've come this far. We had that moment of hope and reason when the governor vetoed the bill. What strikes me most is that it's the opposite of safe. They call it the SAFE Act. And I don't know about you, but as a mental health professional, it is not safe for me to out a child to their parents in some situations. That is one of the most harmful things a mental health professional could be asked to do. That troubles me a great deal. The other thing that it feels a little bit the opposite to is these are the same folks that typically scream for parents' rights. And in this case, they don't want to leave the right to a parent to decide what interventions or treatments or course their own child would take when they begin to identify as trans. So the parent rights thing only goes so far, I guess. They don't want anybody to tell them what to do with their kids, but they want to tell us what to do with our kids. That is extremely troubling to me. I guess this is sort of the end of the road, right? Like there's not much more we can do about it, but I am going to ask Dr. Durant to look specifically at having our Chief of Student Supports and our Executive Director of ADI put their heads together and really map out a plan for how we can do this Section 2, which is what we have affirmed here. The most we can do is double down our own commitment to providing meaningful educational opportunities to all students. So I think we need to have the mental health professionals that are led by our Chief of Student Supports put their heads together with the EDI department and come up with a plan and give the board some feedback on how we're going to make sure that we do what we're saying we actually do have some control over in this situation. Thank you.
Mr. Paskey. I'm sorry, Ms. Barnes, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, we have to remind adults to stop bullying and harming youth. And I can't understand how do they consider themselves leaders when you are literally creating fear of families, for families that are now trying to relocate because Ohio is not safe. The irresponsibleness of it is that we're spending time, they're getting paid to do these things and meet and whatever, spending taxpayers' money, all for roughly, and this is roughly, 20 trans athletes in Ohio. That's in the whole entire state, 20. they have spent months. The last hearing, testimony hearing, was literally almost all day, and people with expertise, people with lived experience kept saying, please, you do not know the harm that you will create, and they continue to do it anyway, all because of 20 kids, which is a lie. They're not doing it for 20 kids, they're doing it for their agenda. They're doing it because they are bigots, they're doing it because they are promoting white supremacy, and they're trying to claim it's because they want to protect our students. If they want to protect our students, they will try to figure out how to create funding to decrease our youth from experiencing homelessness, to decrease food insecurity, to decrease our students from experiencing trauma related to gun violence. If they really, I almost cussed, if they really wanted to protect any of our students, they will figure out how to stop our school shootings, the fear of a school shooting every day, or might happen, and also the students who are experiencing that in the community. If they wanted to really truly protect any of our students, they will actually really do their damn job and listen to the parents of what we want and what we need to protect our students, and not with some agenda to promote their political career, and their supporters who feel that anything other than them is abomination. I am gladly supporting this resolution to oppose House Bill 68 and anything else that comes out of that body that is promoting hate and harm to any youth in Ohio. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. At the end of the day, colleagues, you have said it best, and we know they don't care, but we won't stop caring. I support this bill as well, this resolution as well, opposing House Bill 68. At this time, we are going to, oh, we had discussion, all right? It's my first day on the job, excuse me. Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken?
Yes.
Mrs. Barwig?
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez?
Yes.
Thank you. Section 9 is walk-ins. Are there any walk-ins this evening? If none, we can proceed to Section 10, which is our early childhood education action items. I want to turn it over to Dr. Allen.
Thank you. We do have 3 items that need approval this evening. The first one is 10.01, which is a budget revision. It is a simple revision that involved how we calculate indirect cost. And items 10.02 and 10.03 are part of our annual review of procedures and policies. So the procedure about achieving our program goals and our safety practices are there for approval.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to request a motion to approve the budget revision.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken?
Yes.
Mrs. Barwig?
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez?
Yes.
10.02, it's procedures achieving program goals. I would like to request a motion to approve the procedure achieving goals, program goals.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Discussion? Treasurer, call the roll.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken?
Yes.
Mrs. Barwig?
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez?
Yes.
10.03, safety practices. I would like to request a motion to approve the safety practices.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken?
Yes.
Mrs. Barwig?
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez?
Yes.
Thank you. Section 11 of the agenda consists of early childhood education reports and are provided for your information and reference. No action is required, so we can proceed to Section 12, which is ECE walk-ins. No walk-ins. Sections 13 through 15 are comments, and we'll start with our superintendent.
Yes, again, a thank you to the Islamic Food Bank. During Martin Luther King Day, held another gathering, but they provide food throughout the month. every month for TPS students, so it's a true appreciation in organizing that with our own staff. There are the 2 events this weekend, University of Toledo Aspiring Minority Youth, which will be in representation, as well as the School Expo at the Zoo. So we have great showings at each of these locations to really put TPS on the map. And at the same time, in regard to Board Appreciation Month, I could tell you we are truly blessed in regard to the board that we have. I understand that I deal with the state of Ohio as well as across the country. And when you talk about the consistency and the continuity of this board and the support nature this board provides, you could truly say that you stand class above all. I mean, I can say that there are no other boards that operate and function the way that we do. And at the same time, the committee structure, we would think it's common because it is to us, but there are very few people who are doing it and even understand it. So when I'm mentoring these superintendents, how can you not have a committee structure? And we've been operating and excelling that. So we may want to consider doing more presentations at OSBA, Council of Great City Schools, and even one for OSBA on a national level, because there are so many school districts who are trying to survive without it, and superintendent trying to bear the entire responsibility when you got a board that's supportive that could get it done. So again, appreciation to you for all that you do. TPS proud.
Thank you. Mr. Treasurer.
What he said.
Thank you. Board members, Mrs. Barwick.
Dr. Durant, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. And I will tell you, from the OSBA perspective, we truly are a unicorn when it comes to that we've been referred to that as a unicorn. And I promote the fact that we do our committee structure and it works for us. It may not work for all districts, but you know, I think it's a great way to, it's a great model. So thank you. I certainly appreciate that. And just as an FYI, Dr. Durant can walk on water right now in this sound because the students and families love you for the shutting down of the schools on these days, giving them enough notification ahead of time. That really is the impact for families, making sure that they know with enough time as much as you feasibly can do that. But I would just tell you, I mean, my grandkids are jumping up and down. They love Dr. Durant.
Thank you. I also want to express my appreciation. I'm sorry, Dr. Durant, were you going to respond to that?
Oh, no.
I'm really excited about our cup. I'm not sure like where the bedazzling came from, but it's really pretty special. Thank you. I haven't had dinner, so the fact that I'm like digging around for like which piece of chocolate I'm going to have right now, I already did have one piece of chocolate. I got a wrapper here. I'm trying to not do that, but that's so pretty. I'm just going to keep that on my desk. Thank you. And I didn't get a chance to say something about graduates. I'm glad you mentioned it. I even had it written down, but there were 9 graduates this month. So other than the mid-year when we do that fall graduation to really catch up on the kids that had just small technicalities and we wanted to get them graduated, these are kids that just really kept on working. And then some of the 22 plus folks that got to graduate by whatever standards were in place when they graduated. It's been a moving target graduation requirements, so I think we're on a roll now. Everybody knows, and we have 2 classes in a row with the same graduation requirements, so I think that that should help. It makes me, it reminds me that I've been wanting to ask more about how we set families up for understanding graduation requirements and be able to follow along for all the different various pathways and ways that they can graduate. And I would just remind Mr. Galt that we'd like to see that again in curriculum committee and maybe a presentation to help make sure that everyone's on board with understanding graduation requirements. They've changed so many times. We're glad we've landed on something that we can sink our teeth into, so we appreciate that, and congratulations to everyone. I also appreciate all of my colleagues here on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kirk. Ms. Barnes?
Thank you, Mr. President. So once again, I want to say thank you to my fellow board members. Without each of your essence, I couldn't be who I am as a board member. I come in as a community advocate, organizer, and parent. and I learned so much from each of you. So I do appreciate you helping me grow through my first term. And Dr. Durrett, thank you so much for always taking my calls and letting me cuss. I know I got a 10 cuss limit. I've been pushing it lately, so I'll get back to my 10 word cuss limit. I do want to mention something because once again, I wouldn't be the community advocate if I didn't. As we have, came off of Dr. Martin Luther King celebration for what would be his birthday in the history of all that he done. And so many of these folks that we talked about in the resolution who passed this resolution that increased harm to our students quoted him, posted his, his speeches and talked about him as the great icon he is, even though they would have went against him. I do want to make sure we mention that the platform of nonviolence and how he moved to become the icon he is for civil rights and for Black History Month as we roll into that was because of a Black gay man. So once again, if we do not teach the truth of history, we're going to make up what we think it is. And so as we think about how they are targeting now the trans, non-binary, gender expansive youth, it was once done to also other communities that is marginalized. So it may not be you today, but trust and believe it will be you one day. So do not wait for that. Thank you.
Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Got a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank you for the recognition and appreciation to be a board member, but I consider being a board member a privilege. I like doing the work, and we do a lot of work. And to follow up with what Dr. Durant said about the committees, we do a lot of work in our committees, and when it's bad weather out, you especially become aware of the work that you do because you're constantly leaving your house for meetings. And I don't think everybody knows that we come here for meetings and we stay for a couple of hours and we do the business. And with that, Dr. Duran, I just wanted to let you know that during the bad weather when the schools were closed, I might have made an error because they kept asking me if we were going to still have our committee meetings. And I said yes, and the schools were closed. And I guess I didn't get the hint. They asked me 2 or 3 times. And so I said yes, and Ms. Bringman, and I just want you to know, and all of your staff came in, okay, to have the meeting because I didn't get it. I still wanted to have the meeting. And then the only reason I found out I made an error was because Mr. Murphy from your staff very respectfully reminded me that there was certain policies or practices that if schools closed, we don't have committee meetings. I was oblivious to the whole thing. So, and your staff were wonderful. They said what they said is if Mr. Vasquez wants to have a meeting, we're going to have a meeting, and they all came together. And so kudos to your staff, and I'm sorry I missed all the hints. But we did have a productive meeting. So I just want to let you know that your staff were wonderful. So the other thing is follow up with Mr. Parker said about student voice. Staff who are responsible and they all jump in for promoting student voice and meeting the students that we're able to meet. They engage with us as board members very easily. It's kind of special. So going along with the theme of the presentation we had tonight with the pledge and how comfortable they are, going along with the kid mayor and how comfortable she was in explaining everything and everything she was involved in, and then student voice as well. We really have a great set of students in TPS, and we have a lot of reason to be TPS proud. All through the week, everything that I'm involved in makes us TPS proud. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Finally, I want to say, as my colleagues have said, Dr. Durant, thank you again for making the call to get our parents prepared and things of such as it relates to our students. All my kids are grown, so I don't get that call. And so, you know, they're part of that committee that says, you know, well, when I was in school, we didn't close like that. And I always tell them that if unbothered and I said what I said was a person, it would be Dr. Romulus Durant. So thank you, sir, for caring about our students. Again, colleagues, thank you so much for all that you do and the work you do, to your staff and to all of you that are even here tonight. Thank you for being here. And on that note, I'd like to request a motion to adjourn our... Oh, yes, and make sure we get a picture for our board recognition. Wait a minute, before we do that, I love this cup. Unfortunately, it looks like a star, which reminds me of the Cowboys, and I'm an Eagles fan, and so my wife will be using this cup more than I will. All right?
Go Lions.
Yeah, I'll do Lions now.
Yeah,
So.
Lions.
All right, let's make a motion, please, to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, Treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mrs. Gerken?
Yes.
Mrs. Varwig?
Yes.
And Mr. Vasquez?
Yes.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone. Be safe.